We got Joe Rogan and two men who are scientists of sorts, Tristan Harris and Daniel, I'm going to try it, Schmackenberger.
Oh.
And I'm here with the wife. That's a little easier to say.
Hello. I'm
Hello.
the wife.
But these guys are talking about something very interesting. I don't often have you hear a clip beforehand, but I wanted you to hear this one. And I wanted to touch on it afterwards. You have some articles that you want to read about. This one's very interesting. It kind of shows how vulnerable America is to an online threat when it comes to China and Russia. Because so often we hear about these Russian troll farms, these Chinese troll farms. But the way these guys break it down, you start to see like Facebook is pretty much rolling out the red carpet for this type of behavior. So
Yeah.
let's, you agree?
100%.
Yeah, I think so. So let's get into the Joe Rogan clip first, and then we will talk about it after. Let's go.
Mentioning what China's doing to kind of regulate its internet. That's actually worth speaking about.
Yeah. Have you been following this?
Yeah, that's what terrifies me, is that we have to become like China in order to deal with what they're doing. I feel like one step moving in that general direction is a social credit score system, and I'm terrified of that.
Right.
And I think that is where vaccine passports lead to. I really do. And I think this idea that they're slowly working their way into our everyday lives and in this sort of inexorable way, where you have to have some sort of paperwork or some sort of a Q code or something on your phone or QR code, that scares the shit out of me, because you're never going to get that back.
Right.
Once the government has that kind of power and control, they're going to be able to exercise it whenever they want with all sorts of reasons to institute it.
I'm worried about that too, but I will say also, just to also notice that everywhere there's a way in which a small move in a direction can be shown to lead to another big boogeyman, and that boogeyman makes us angry. Social media is upregulating the meaning of everything to be its worst possible conclusion. So like a small move by the government to do X might be seen as this is the first step in this total thing. I'm not saying that they're not going to go do that. I'm worried about that too. But to also just notice the way that social media amplifies that the degree to which we all get kind of reactive and triggered by that.
The thing that I think is worth mentioning is what China is doing regarding its internet, because it's seeing real problems, and we might not like their solution. We might want to implement a solution that has more civil liberties, and we should.
Well, let's explain what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I'll do it quickly. So it's quite literally as if Xi Jinping saw the social dilemma, because they've in the last 2 months rolled out a bunch of sweeping reforms that include things like, if you're under the age of 14 and you use Douyin, which is their version of TikTok, when you swipe the videos, instead of getting like the influencer dancing videos and soft pornography, you get science experiments you can do at home, museum exhibits, and patriotism videos.
Wow.
So you're scrolling and you're getting stuff that's educating, because they want their kids to grow up and want to be astronauts and scientists.
Yeah.
They don't want them to grow up and be influencers. And I'm not, when I say this, by the way, I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not praising that model, just noticing all the things that they're doing.
Well, I'll praise it.
Another,
If you can influence people, that's a great way to do it.
They also limit it to 40 minutes a day on TikTok. For gaming, let me actually do the TikTok example. So they do 40 minutes a day for TikTok. They also, when you scroll a few times, they actually do a mandatory 5-second delay saying, hey, do you want to get up and do something else? Like, because when people sit there infinitely scroll, even Tim Cook recently said mindless scrolling, which was actually invented by my co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology, Asa Raskin. He was in the social dilemma. He's the one who invented that infinite scroll thing. China said, hey, we don't want people mindlessly scrolling. So after you scroll a few videos, it does a mandatory 5-second like interlude. They also have opening hours and closing hours. So from 10 p.m. until 6 in the morning, if you're under 14, it's closed. Meaning one of the problems of social media for teenagers is if I'm not on at 1 in the morning, but all my friends are on and they're still commenting on my stuff, I feel the social pressure. I'm going to be ostracized if I don't participate.
Right. And if your notifications are on, your phone keeps buzzing.
Totally. And even if they're not on, it's like, oh, but I want to see if they said something about my thing. And so it's a we call a multipolar trap. If I don't participate, but the other guys are, I'm going to lose out. And Facebook and these companies, they know that, by the way. Even Netflix said their biggest competitor is sleep. So one of the because they're all competing for attention. So when you do this mandatory thing where you say we're going to close from 10 p.m. to 6 in the morning, suddenly everyone, if you're in the same time zone, it's another important side effect, can't use it at the same time. So these are some examples for their military. By the way, if you're a member of the Chinese PLA army, you get a lockdown smartphone. It's like a light phone. It's like hyper lockdown. You can't do anything. By contrast, we know that Russia and China go into our veterans groups on Facebook, and they actually try to sow disinformation, try to radicalize veterans. Hey, Afghanistan happened. Aren't you really pissed? Let me show you 10 videos, right? And this is like dosing people with more mental health problems.
Right.
So in a bunch of different ways, we see that
Specifically, if you want to drive civil war in a meaningful way in the U.S., take the people who have real tactical capability and radicalize them. And so target those groups in particular. And it makes sense why their military wants to lock down the ability for external influence.
Of course.
right.
Yeah.
And so while we're spending all this money building physical borders, building walls, or spending $50 billion a year on the passport controls and the Department of Homeland Security and the physical, if Russia trying to try to fly a plane into the United States, we've got Patriot missiles to shoot it down. But when they try to fly an information, like precision-guided information bomb, instead of responding with Patriot missiles, we respond with, here's a white glove Facebook algorithm that says which zip code or Facebook group would you like to target, right? So it changes the asymmetries. Typically what made the U.S. powerful was the geographic, we had these huge oceans on both sides. It gives us a unique place in the world. When you move to the digital world, it erases that geographic asymmetry of power. So this is an imminent national security threat. This is not just like, hey, social media is adding some subtle pollution in the form of mental health, or hey, it's adding a little bit of polarization, but we can still get things done. It's an imminent national security threat to our continuity of our model of governance, which we want to keep.
Spoken to people in power? Have you spoken to Congress people about this?
Yes, but I'm hoping many more of them watch this, because I think people need to see the full scope. And I really do want to make sure we're not sounding like just full disaster porn, because we want to get to the point.
Don't worry about that. Go full disaster porn.
Well, it just
better than not.
It's not meant to scare people, just to get an appraisal of what is the situation.
It's going to scare. The reality is going to scare
reality
people.
Is scary.
It should scare people because we're so far behind the 8 ball.
There's a really important point Tristan was just at that we actually need to double click on, which is that democracies are more affected by what's happening with social media than authoritarian nations are. And for a number of reasons, but do you want to?
Well, and we sort of hinted at it earlier, but when social media's business model is showing each tribe their boogeyman, their extreme reality, it forces a more polarized political base, which means to get elected, you have to say something that's going to appeal to a base that's more divided. And in the Facebook files that Frances Haugen put out, they showed that when Facebook changed the way its ranking system worked, in 2018 to something called meaningful social interactions. I won't go into the details. They talked to political parties in Europe. So here we are. It's 2018. They do an interview with political parties in Poland, in Hungary, in Taiwan, and India. And these political parties say, Facebook, we know you changed your ranking system. And Facebook smugly responds, yeah, everyone has a conspiracy theory about how we change our ranking system because those stories go viral. And they're like, no, we know that you changed how your ranking system works. Because we used to be able to publish, here's a white paper on our agriculture policy to deal with soil degradation. And now when we publish the white paper, we get crickets. We don't get any response. And we tested it, and the only thing that we get traffic and attention on is when we say negative things about the other political parties. So, and they say, we know that's bad. We don't want to do that. We don't want to run our campaign that's about saying negative things about the other party. But when you change the algorithm, that's the only thing we can do to get attention. It shows how central the algorithm is to everything else. If I'm Tucker Carlson or Rachel Maddow or anybody who's a political personality, are they really saying things just for their TV audience? Or are they also appealing to the algorithm? Because more and more of their attention is going to happen downstream in these little clips that get filtered around. So they also need to appeal to how the algorithm is rewarding saying negative things about the other party. So what that does is it means you elect a more political, representative class that's based on disagreeing with the other side and being divided about the other side, which means that it throws a wrench into the gears of democracy, and means that democracy stops delivering results in a time where we have more crises. We have more supply chain stuff and inflation and all these other things to respond to. And instead of responding effectively, it's just division all the way down.
Wow. That's very, very interesting. I got your mic on there. Yeah. So that was interesting. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Especially the last part about Facebook kind of being like, yeah, with your conspiracies. And they're like, no. We're trying to be positive and you're not allowing us.
What do they mean? Do you know what a white paper is? I didn't know what they meant by that.
A white paper is a full break. The only reason I know this, shout out to my buddy Mike, every time he starts a company, he makes a white paper, and I'll be
Okay.
like, read my white paper, and I'll be like, it's 97 pages. I'm not doing this. Because then the next 3 weeks, it's like, we dissolve that company, and I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh my
God.
gosh. So he writes them all the time. So it's basically when you have a company, you want to write a white paper because it's a breakdown of everything that the company is going to be and everything that they're going to do.
Okay.
So it's like a full breakdown of the company. And then
Okay.
also, aside from that, you'd probably have like in terms of like a Facebook or a social media platform, you'd have like a style guide. And the reason you have the white paper and the style guide is because anybody who gets onboarded into the company, it's like, here's a white paper, here's a style guide. So you know exactly what things should look like, and you know exactly what we're trying to do here.
Okay. So in terms of a political party, it's like exactly kind of their goals and values.
Their goals, values, maybe it'll be a white paper just based on policy. Maybe it's just based
Got
on
it.
foreign policy. Like I'm sure when it gets into politics, it gets really, really extensive on what they could write a white paper for. But it's a basic breakdown of everything they want to do
So
in a
basically-
in a certain area.
Instead of allowing people to outline their own policies on Facebook, they're encouraging them to tear down others.
Well, that's what it seems like, especially in that clip. He was like, we want to show them our white paper so they can understand how good things are. Like, I remember at one point I was reading Hungary and how they deal with families, how they want to build up their population and incentivize families. And I was reading this whole thing to you. It's like, they want to post something like that to show this is what we have planned and it's going to be so good and you should
Yeah.
just learn all the bases of that. And Facebook's not giving a lot of push to that and giving more push to exactly what you just said, tearing the other side down,
Interesting.
which is 100% true.
But they probably get more engagement from that in general.
It's like that everywhere. It's not even just Facebook. Oh, why is Joe Rogan shocked all the time? Hey, because when I put Joe Rogan super happy, everybody goes, nah.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
it's real. It's a real thing. It's so real. Why is he always shocked and stunned? Yeah, because that's all anybody wants to click on.
Because that's why you clicked.
Yeah. I've tried positive. I've written Joe Rogan's extremely happy about this. Nope. That's why you see it. When you question why you see this in all the videos, why are all the videos shocked and this and that? It's because that's all people want to click on.
That's crazy.
Heated debate, not
Yeah.
friendly conversation. Joe Rogan has a friendly conversation with somebody.
No.
Steven Crowder has a friendly conversation. Nope. Nobody wants to hear about Candace Owens having a friendly conversation. They want a heated exchange,
That's
heated
so
debate.
sad.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. I learned that real quick in the social media space.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so it's not just Facebook, but Facebook is it for some reason it's been more focused on in regards to Facebook. It's probably because within YouTube there's a lot of commenting back and forth and people getting into it, but people seem to really get into it on places like X and places like Facebook.
Yeah.
They tend to really get into really heated debates.
And also Facebook's been under such fire in the past couple of years about different things on their platform as well.
I think they've been under such fire, and also the premise of Facebook is that you're dealing with a real person. So it's
Yeah.
your real profile. And I think that has an element of it as well,
Yeah, true.
is that people can really get burned in a sense.
Yep.
You know, they can get fired, they can get put on blast. You know,
Yeah.
X has a lot of that as well, which is why so many people just use pseudonyms, don't use their real names and stuff.
Yep.
So it's very, very interesting. So let's get into what you wanted to talk about. I will bring up one point though that he said the political, like why North America is so special is because they're so far away from everything else. And that's always been the huge advantage, and how all of that goes away in the digital space.
Yeah.
As soon as he said that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Like if you think about even when the US was fighting for independence, they were fighting Britain.
Yeah, they were so far away.
Yeah, it's not like they shared a border. If they had
Yes.
shared a border, they would have lost.
Well, that's why. Well, yeah.
Because there's just less people.
Yeah, exactly.
So they had to send all these troops over,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't worth it.
And they were ready. They were real ready.
Yeah.
You know, George Washington, like I guess a lot of soldiers did it, but he had a lot of guys just like on rum, just getting them rum, getting them drunk. And
Oh, yeah?
Let's fight. Yeah. Yeah. And the Brits, they were all like, and it was like the first line of America. They were like, ah!
And they were all like drunk and crazy.
Yeah, they were like English Apache warriors.
Oh my God.
Just screaming and just deal it. They couldn't handle it. They were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do, and they would like set up bases, and the Washington, like they would all just kind of be sparse. They would move around.
Yeah.
They didn't have a set up place.
Which is smart because
So
then
if-
you can't be attacked there.
Exactly. So they would have a set up place, and they would just attack the place, tear it down, infiltrate, and they bounce. They wouldn't even take it. They'd be like, "We're out." Kill a bunch of people. We're out. And they just kept doing that. It was amazing. There was no messing around.
You can't defend that. It's too.
Yeah. It was too crazy.
Yeah.
It was literally the foundation of America. It was like, you're not
That's
gonna,
so funny.
like, it was just wild. They were wild. They were seeing it like, compared to what was going on in the past. Obviously, if you go to like Genghis Khan times, it was like tame, but to what the Brits were used to,
Yeah.
it was wild. They were like, these natives have affected these men greatly. This is too much.
Yeah.
Let
But
them
now
have
with
it.
like digital stuff, there is none of that.
Yeah.
And it's all about like population and your reach.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about even just the population of China alone, if they have 0.1% of their population working on this, it's a massive amount of people.
True. And that's the thing. And Russia as well. Obviously, Russia doesn't have as many. I thought they had more people, but I was with our friends yesterday, and he looked it up. They're like at 150 million people.
Okay.
But even still, if you have a massive part of your, I don't know, I call it defense, working on this, like you said, it's pretty massive, because Joe Rogan brings it up often. 19 out of the top 20 Christian sites on Facebook, Christian pages, were actually run by Russians.
Wow. That's crazy.
And they were just kind of posing as that. And that makes sense. It's kind of like the perfect base.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to pull in patriots. I'm going to pull in housewives. I'm going to pull in young people.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah. It's like you can pull them all in through Christianity. And they knew that. And they've been doing that.
That's so crazy.
And when Joe Rogan brought it up to Mark Zuckerberg, he was kind of just like, oh, yeah, no, I hadn't heard that.
Wow. But I guess like he can't hear everything.
I guess. But he
But
didn't
also
even.
like that's a pretty shocking thing.
Yeah, but he wasn't even like, what? Let me see. Pull it up. Like, he wasn't even
Like
surprised.
he could have made a call and get it all shut down immediately.
Yeah, he could have
if he
literally
wanted
been like,
to.
I have to stop right now.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Or do it on air.
We have to pause. I have to make this stop
Yeah.
immediately. I have to see if this got taken care of. But he didn't seem shocked or anything. And it goes back to what
Maybe
you were
he just didn't
saying.
believe him.
Maybe he thought it was just misinformation, disinformation. But it goes back to what you were saying when we were talking about Grush and Joe Rogan, how like wishing that he would just call people out.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he just be like, hey,
True.
man, this is crazy. You don't know about this?
Yeah.
Why don't you know about this?
Like who does know about
Yeah.
this then?
Who does find out about this and handle it if it's not you?
Yeah.
And it's hard because you say he can't deal with everything, but then you go on to X and you could like at Elon Musk and he'll be like, I'll look into it. And it's like, what?
True. Not everybody though.
Not everybody, but a lot of, when things are really important, Elon Musk will get involved.
That's interesting.
He will be in the comments. He will jump in and be like,
I'll
hey,
look into it.
yeah. And then it'll get dealt with like within a week. I don't know. And that's a man who fired, I think he like a huge % of the company.
True.
Like he got rid of.
So they're running on like less staff and doing more.
Yeah. So I don't know about Zuckerberg and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into what you have to talk about.
One of the articles that I found was interesting was the CNBC one.
Okay.
And the headline is Chinese social media campaigns are successfully impersonating U.S. voters, Microsoft warns. So Microsoft actually did, like they investigated to see what was going on specifically.
Yeah.
And it says later in this article, Microsoft found content from Chinese influence campaigns on multiple apps, including Meta's Facebook and Instagram, Microsoft-owned LinkedIn, and X. In August, Facebook parent Meta announced it had disrupted the largest ever identified disinformation campaign and linked it to China's state-affiliated actors. Microsoft reports included screenshots of 2 different X posts in April that were identified as CCP-affiliated disinformation. Both were about the Black Lives Matter movement and had the same graphic.
Whoa.
The first came from an automated CCP-affiliated account. The second, Microsoft said, was uploaded by an account impersonating a conservative U.S. voter 7 hours later. So they posted the same thing, one from a known Chinese affiliate and one from someone who appears to be a U.S. voter, like a U.S. citizen, and they're posting the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, how many more of those accounts are there?
There's thousands, hundreds of thousands.
There
I
has to
think.
be.
Very, very interesting. And I think that all the time. Sometimes I see somebody who is, you said Black Lives Matter. Sometimes I see someone online who's black, and I'm like, this is far too ignorant and like far too. This is like sitcom black.
Oh,
I'm like, why are they really like that? They can't really be like that.
interesting.
And I always think, I'm like, this is not a real black person. I really think that in my head a lot of times. Sometimes
Yeah,
I'll see
it could be division.
things are just sometimes you see someone and it's just they're so wildly on the nose of who they're supposed to be
Yeah.
that it just makes you question it. Like sometimes I'll just see a profile on X and it'll just be like, Trump forever and always, I'm a Christian mom, veteran, this, like every single thing you could think of, and you're just like,
Yeah, just
really?
like all the buzzwords.
Yeah,
For
it's
like a
like-
Karen or something.
yeah, and they're all and they're all hashtagged and stuff, and I'm like, huh.
That's interesting too, considering like China's general opinion on black people,
Yeah, right.
that they would make some of their like fake accounts like that. Like they think that that's normal.
Oh yeah.
It's just horrible.
Oh yeah. In China they have N-word whiskey.
What?
Yeah. It's like it's
What is it?
it's-
It's just like
it's just-
a
it's-
brand of product?
yeah, that's their brand.
Okay.
If you wanna be like a black person and drink some with
Stop.
yeah, they have it. They
I'm
have
surprised
it.
people would buy that because I didn't think that was like,
Well, it's like if you want to really, go all out one night, I would
Oh
assume,
my
you want to have a good time, you're going to a hip hop club or something,
Oh my
because China
gosh.
has all that going
Yeah.
on. And they're like, I'm going to bring some Edward whiskey with me as well.
oh, that's so crazy.
We're going to turn it up tonight, boys.
Oh my gosh.
It's a real thing. It's so amazing.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. So, what else do you got? And towards the vote, I think that happens a lot. Joe Rogan talks about this an awful lot, and I really do think it's a real thing. I
Yeah.
think it's a real thing that happens more often than we think. And I just want to go over to this because this was an article. You didn't care to read it, but it was just talking about Canada tells China linked the spamiflage blitz on MP's social media. So the reason I wanted to keep this is because there was a time where Justin Trudeau, he got booed by a bunch of Indigenous people.
Yes, I remember that.
And I remember seeing the next day so many accounts all saying the same thing in support of Justin Trudeau
That's silly.
on Twitter. And I was like, this can't be real. Like it's so weird that even in the comments, any Canadian, there's never been a Canadian that's like, I love that Justin Trudeau.
No, that's
Never.
true.
If you go on Instagram and you see anything that's about Canada, it seems like no one likes him.
At the very least, it's like, oh, like I like some of his policies, but I don't like XYZ.
These
because
people-
he has never been universally liked.
These people in this comment section were talking about how much they loved him. It
Yeah,
was
that's
the
weird.
weirdest thing. And there was dozens and dozens of them. I was like, this can't be real.
I've never heard somebody in real life say they love him.
No. And the thing about it is, it was directly after he got booed and all of this negative press was coming out. And he got booed, and I think something else happened, He's
got booed a lot of places.
I think I made a video about somebody calling him out and yelling a bunch of obscenities like right to his face. Somebody else shook his hand and then told him he was like a piece of whatever, and there was a bunch of things. And then he got booed, and then all of a sudden all this support came out, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And the reason I think it's so fake is because I don't think these government bodies anywhere, any of these government bodies, Europe, Canada, the US, I don't think they understand how social media works. I think they think like politicians, how it's just all optics.
Yeah.
And they're like, as long as we make the optics look good, we're good. And I don't think they understand what something fake looks like.
So you
They
don't think
get
this
it.
article is true, is what you're saying?
I don't know. I don't know this spamouflage. Like, oh yeah, because they're in this article, they're saying that they're all the abuse that he sees
Yeah.
is fake.
Yeah.
They're saying that
unlike
it's
certain
bots.
ones.
No, it's
The
real.
thing that made me laugh
It's
about
very
this was later in this article, it talks about,
This one
how there were like deep fake videos
of people who
of
didn't like him.
politicians doing whatever.
Oh yeah,
So then that opens a whole can of worms too.
Yeah,
Because they
there-
could just say,
there's gonna be
like,
all
oh yeah, I
sorts.
remember that blackface video of me? That was a deep fake.
Yeah, right. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
Yeah. So it's like they're starting it now.
That's why
starting
I
the
want
ball rolling to cover themselves.
I want people to leave that alone and not do that, because there's people who, let's just say left and right, there's people on the right who will sometimes doctor photos of certain things, and it's like, don't get into that.
Yeah, don't
because
start.
you're gonna mess up everything. Because then everybody on the left is going to be able to say everything that you see is fake. Believe none of what you see.
Yeah.
And then it'll be somebody
Both sides are able to say that.
Exactly. But then it'll be, it'll be like a new Bohemian Grove video, and everybody will be like, fake,
Yeah.
obviously fake.
Fake.
And that'll be it. And you won't be able to argue it.
Yeah, that's hard.
So you got to stay away from doing that. Like, it's tempting. It's really tempting.
Yeah, it's not worth it in the long run.
Because you
though.
don't like someone, you don't like the Obamas, so you do this and that. Trust me, stay away from it. Just
Yeah.
leave the pictures as they actually are. The truth is way more crazy
Yeah,
than we think.
for sure.
You don't have to make anything up. Sorry. So go ahead into what else you got here.
There was that next article.
This
that
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the first couple paragraphs, there is what I wanted to read. It says Meta disclosed that it had removed numerous Facebook accounts originating from China. These accounts were allegedly posing as Americans, participating in discussions on contentious topics like and healthcare, as reported
job.
by CNN. Thank you. The tech giant issued a caution regarding foreign threat actors seeking to influence audiences in anticipation of the 2024 U.S. election. These deceptive accounts replicated social media posts word for word from figures on both sides of the political spectrum, including Republicans like presidential candidate Ron DeSantis and Democrats such as former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So now they're just like replicating things
Yeah.
and just, I guess, trying to amplify those messages.
Who is? When you say they're
Foreign threat actors is what they call them. So these are people from, I assume, China and Russia.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we can assume that.
Yeah. So that they're amplifying these political stances on either side to create more division.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. That goes right back to what I was saying on X, when like I've noticed it with a lot of right-leaning accounts where it's just like, this is too much. And then on the other side, it's like pride flag, trans flag, BLM, Palestine, like it's every single thing all in a row, and you're just like, I don't know if a person would do that.
Yeah.
Like a legit person. But someone who just knows that they're kind of just trying to put up a flag, and it's just like, they would think, yeah, you put in all the things.
Yeah.
They have crazy people over there.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
It's weird.
Because if Meta admits to like removing some of these accounts, like, they probably only caught 1% if they're lucky.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
If that. Because how do they? And the thing about it is, it's that these foreign countries will lead to American social media, which is, in reality, worldwide social media, to have to start taking people's IDs. And that becomes a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
And they're going to enforce it because they come from countries where it's already like that.
Yeah, it's normal.
So they don't care. So if they cause enough dissent, if they cause enough of these fake accounts to where Meta has to say, okay, everybody needs to have their ID, passport, something uploaded. Elon Musk is already thinking about doing that. If you go into X, there's actually an option for you to like verify your identity.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't really know why, and I don't care to know why, but it's there already. It's already there as an option. So what happens when he makes it mandatory?
Yeah.
Then there's people like Jordan Peterson. He talks about the psychopathic behavior that comes from people not having to identify themselves online.
Yeah.
And he talks about how they start to do things that they would never normally do, harass people in ways they would never normally harass people, like, you know, if at all. And it's all leading up to, hey, just because there was a few bad apples and most of them were fake, now all of you have to identify yourselves.
Yeah.
And that's completely unfair. And I think it's going to get to that point. People are going to... Nikki Haley, I don't know if you know about most of the running, because you haven't been with me in these political episodes, but Nikki Haley is someone who's running for president. She's a woman. And she's just been saying outright, she's like, I want everybody's identity has to be disclosed online.
Why?
No, because she's insane. That's why. No.
Right,
I mean,
that's a
she just feels like that is something that needs to happen. I don't know why she's saying it at this point. But again, it's like, I don't know why Elon Musk has that on his website. It's all, I don't know why Jordan Peterson was saying that people need to be identified online. I mean, if I put on my tinfoil Speedo and I got all sorts of tinfoil accessories. If I put that on and start thinking about it, it's like all these people from all walks of life, all positions of power and influence are saying, hey, you know, we're getting to a point where we got to identify.
Yeah, and they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Whenever the people of power are saying the same thing, that's when you got to
from Nikki
listen
Haley,
and worry.
Yeah, from Nikki Haley to Jordan Peterson to not quite Elon Musk, but it's on his website, his company, his app already. When you see it, there's such from far different places in life, and they're all saying the same thing. I always say you have to be worrisome when people speak in unison. Anytime you see people speak in unison, you have to think about it.
For
when
sure.
you see it on the news or anything, you have to be like, what's happening? What's
The
this
other
leading
thing
to?
it makes me think of is like if you have an Uber account, you have to have put your ID in.
Of course, yeah.
So I wonder if there's a way to just like prove you have an Uber account, and then that's enough.
Well, I mean, kind of. Well,
You know?
what would happen is they'd be like, okay, well then whatever ID is associated with it, we want to see it.
But why do they need to?
Why do they need to at all? Why do they need to verify an account through an account or anything?
Yeah.
It's because of what's happening. You know, like a gentleman that I just made an episode on, his name's Douglas Mackey. He put out a tweet. There's a tweet. It's a Hillary Clinton tweet. He put it out 4 years in 2016. Okay. He put out this tweet, 2016. It's about Hillary Clinton because she was running. And it says, forget the lines, vote from home, text this to Hillary, like text this to this number, and you could vote for Hillary.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a meme. He comes from one of those troll memes, like troll accounts on X. And he's just a guy trolling. And Trump goes into office. Nothing happens to him. Trump leaves office. 7 days after Biden takes office, he has 10 FBI agents go to his house.
What?
They arrest him. They don't tell him why. They take him, blah, blah, blah. It's because of this tweet of a meme that he did not create.
He just reposted.
He just reposted it. He just saw it and said, that's funny. Let me throw that up here for my audience. Yeah. And gets arrested. Now he is
and
facing...
they were thinking it was what, election interference?
Oh, it was like vote suppression and this and that, and they're linking this far right extremist to these like vote suppression. He was doing it for Trump, and the guy's just a troll. That's it. He's just a troll. He's just making fun of the situation.
Yeah.
That's it. And now he's facing 7 months in prison alongside violent offenders and people who have done worse, and it's very, very wild.
Interesting.
But they were able to find, and I should actually look into how they actually found out who he was. But because of that, that is what you would see more of if everybody was identified.
Yeah.
You'd see more of that. They would be like, you did this. They could just think of a reason. You could think of an extreme reason for why anybody does anything. You know, you bumped into me because you wanted me to smash my head on this corner. I would have
attempted murder.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you could come up with anything. So if you have people's identities and you know what they're doing, it's like, I don't know, you can go at it like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Douglas Mackey. He was actually he was interviewed by Tucker Carlson recently.
What a world.
Right? 7 months, almost a year in prison
For that, for retweeting.
Yeah. Just something that
A meme that's harmless.
and they were like, oh, people were confused by this. It affected this many
Anybody
people.
who is confused by that should not be voting in the beginning. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it's that there's that, yes, and also I can't help but think that they're not being honest about that, because anybody who's following a troll account knows that they're following a troll.
Yes.
They're getting kicks out of it. It's funny, the stuff that he posts. So when they see him post that, they're not thinking, oh, I better. And on top of that, no one, I think he had maybe 70,000 followers. None of those 70,000 people were left leaning.
I was going to say, they're probably not.
They're all right leaning. So when they
Yeah.
saw it, they were like, huh, look at this. That's hilarious. Maybe some of them retweeted it. Like, it could have affected people, but not to the extent of everything that's happened to him.
No, that's crazy.
Definitely not. Maybe
Like-
ban his account. Hey, that's misinformation. We take that seriously. Maybe ban his account, but to do what they did, I don't know, a little far.
If they're going to discuss influencing an election to that degree for something like that, then they should take a look seriously at Taylor Swift. She had way more influence on that election
Oh man.
than that guy ever did.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's where it gets really weird, right? Because every politician, Trump included. Trump is, there's a rapper named Lil Pump that he has endorse him, and Lil Pump gets on stage with Trump and he'll say, hey, vote Trump, and he'll do the thing and he'll make his posts. And Barack Obama had Jay-Z and Beyonce doing the same thing. Biden had Cardi B and Offset. I think that's who she's married to, whichever one of those guys. They all have these super famous people endorsing them, and I don't know.
Yeah, why is that different?
Why is that different? Is it because they get paid, or is it because they're doing something positive for them? I don't know.
I feel like it's like more nefarious if you're getting paid.
Oh yeah, and they're getting paid.
Yeah,
they're
of
all
course.
getting paid.
Of course.
Nobody did that for Barack Obama for free.
No.
Nobody. Not a chance.
Especially not Beyonce and Jay-Z. They don't do anything for free.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why would they?
She did a concert for one day and got paid $24 million.
Yeah. If you can, you do it.
She did 3 songs. It was just a day of her time.
Oh my
But she
gosh.
did 3 songs on stage, $24 million.
$8 million a song.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Good for her.
Yeah, right.
But again, why would you do anything for free?
Yeah. So it's interesting that this gentleman gets that, because if he did, well, I guess at that point you're allowed to have somebody build you up, but you can't pay someone to tear someone else down, I guess.
But they do it all the time.
I was going to say, you're correct. And they do it in the form of the ads. When they make their campaign ads, a lot of times they're tearing down another candidate. And why isn't that seen as, I don't know. See, it's odd. It's like when it's them and it's involving them, it's fine. When it's someone from the outside that's one of us random people on the internet, then it becomes a problem. It's very, I don't know. I don't get it.
Weird.
I don't get it. But shout out to that guy. 7 months. Wild.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah. What else you got? You got this
There's one more article from
the AP?
Yeah. In the first little bit of it.
AP
as well.
AP News, just so you know, this is fair use. You came after me before because I
Oh my
used one of your
gosh.
things. This is fair use. We're covering this topic. Your article is helping us, okay? Nothing
Giving
bad.
you credit. Thank you, AP
Yeah,
News.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. So go ahead. Sorry.
In the beginning of the article, it says, to her 1.4 million followers across TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, Vika Lee says she is a life blogger and food lover who wants to teach her fans about China so they can travel the country with ease. Through my lens, I will take you around China, take you into Vika's life, she says in a video posted in January to her YouTube and Facebook accounts, where she also teaches Chinese classes over Zoom. But that lens may be controlled by CGTN, the Chinese state-run TV network, where she has regularly appeared in broadcasts and is listed as a digital reporter on the company's website. And while Vika Lee tells her followers that she created all of these channels on her own, her Facebook account shows that at least 9 people manage her page.
Huh.
So this is one of the people who's been identified as kind of a Chinese state media affiliate.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And she's basically like a reporter on their broadcast website or broadcast networks. Yeah. So she's been flagged as foreign media
Okay.
on a couple of her different accounts. But what I found interesting later on in this article, it says as well that some of the sites that she's on are like largely banned in China. So the average person can't access them.
Oh.
So then it should be hugely flagged anybody who does have access, because that's specifically given consent from the government for them to use it.
Huh. Wait. So it's not accessible in China,
Yes. But she's in China
but she's in China.
accessing it. So even just that alone.
So she's being
Is a red
given
flag.
these special privileges.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like then you think her content is not run by the state government?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's almost like that. I forget what episode we were doing. We were talking about that website. I think it was called America Today or US Today. It was like some state affiliated thing where it was showing, it was like a front facing type of American news towards the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I was just wondering like what they show people and what are they showing people in terms of the administration and this and that, and it's all very positive, you know. And I guess this is kind of the same thing
Yeah.
through an influencer rather than a whole network, I guess.
And then they're talking to someone who's involved in investigating Chinese social media infiltration. And he says specifically, they have clearly identified the Chinese lady influencer is the way to go. So that's their most effective tool,
Really?
is these young women who promote things like beauty and food and travel.
Yeah, of course. Of
So
course.
that's how they're doing it. So next
'Cause-
time you see a nice Chinese lady influencer, think twice. She's probably a reporter on Chinese state news.
That's smart. That is smart.
It is.
That's how you would do it.
Target demographics.
Yeah. I've seen a couple things like that. I have seen a couple things like that. And it wasn't Chinese. It was actually Ukrainian. It's a Ukrainian person who had just experienced their first year in Canada. Huh. I wonder. Yeah, now that you
Makes
bring
you think
that
about
up,
everything, eh?
how many... Huh. That's something to think about. Think about
Yeah.
that, folks. I have this highlighted here. Did you read this part of the article?
No, I think so. I read all of it.
He said, you can see how they are trying to infiltrate every one of these countries, said the former FBI agent. It is just about volume, ultimately. If you just bombard an audience with long... Did you read that already?
I think I read it to you.
You read it to me
Before.
off camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just bombard an audience for long enough with the same narratives, people will tend to believe them over time.
Yeah,
Very true.
exactly.
Very, very true.
Yeah. It also goes on to talk about how they're promoting travel to a region in China called Xinjiang,
Okay.
which is where they have a lot of the detention camps for the Uyghur.
Oh, cool.
So they're, yeah, not so cool. So they're trying to bring back tourism into that area because it's severely down.
They're trying to make it known for something else.
Yes.
Rather than what they know has been spread amongst the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know what? Yeah. It always makes me wonder because it goes both ways, right? Like sometimes you see videos of Ukraine, like certain towns and cities, and it's wonderful. And then you see places in Russia and it's terrible. But then all of a sudden you see a video that's supposed to be in Russia and it's beautiful and everybody's having fun. And then you see the opposite in Ukraine. And it really makes you wonder,
Yeah.
like, what's going on? That's why it's so important to have... Vice used to do it back in the day before they became owned by Fox. They used to have so many people on the ground in certain places and you could see exactly what was going on.
Yeah, that's way better.
It was so amazing. That's what inspired me. I'm like, I want to be a journalist just from that. I'm like, I want to be one of those guys running around doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
It was so incredible. They had people, because this whole Ukraine-Russia thing has been going on for a long time. So when it first popped off, like really badly, they had people in Ukraine, they had people in Afghanistan, they were making documentaries, everything, and it was just so important to be able to see what's actually happening. And obviously they still have control because you only really see what the camera shows you, but
yes.
At least you got a more authentic feel from what was going on, you know?
That makes me think of what was that you showed me a video of a female reporter in Israel who was just lying on the ground
Yeah,
reporting.
see, that was CNN.
I thought so.
It was CNN, and she was on the ground, and there were so many people who were pro-Israel who were like, no, that's what you do. But then I told you, I'm like, I have a friend who is in Israel.
Yeah.
And he was showing the Iron Dome, and he was showing things blowing up, the missiles and everything. And he was just like looking at it. He's
Yeah,
just
you
like,
showed me his video.
Yeah, he was just like,
And he's
wow.
like, kids there.
He's like, look at this. Wow. But then when the CNN woman went through it, she was like on the ground. She's like, oh my God.
Yeah, but she was still like reporting on all her stuff just like from the ground.
It just, yeah.
It just seemed very, very fake.
Yeah, it's just, I didn't get it. And that's just one of those things where I was lucky enough to have a friend who's actually there.
Yes.
You know?
And that's exactly what you said. It's so important to be able to see what's really going on.
Exactly. Odd stuff. What else you got?
That's about it.
That's about it. Well, what are we? We're like we're 45 minutes in. Wow, I didn't
That
even
always
realize
happens
that.
when we do ones together.
Yeah,
Whoops.
definitely. Well, guys, like, subscribe, and hit up IamCoachColin.com. We got wonderful things like this on that site.
I'm wearing this whole not for sale right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you are. And we're going to have a lot more on there, so check it out. Discount code IamCoachColin, all capital letters, all one word, one L in the name Colin gets you 10% off. And other than that, we are out.
Bye.